guys and girls, hope you're doing well. Dave back with another video. Today I'm here with this, and it's the second part, or part 2, or the final episode I should say, of Dave's early 2020 PC upgrades. And today I'm here with this, and it's my file server. It's just getting an upgrade. So at the moment it runs an old AMD APU. It's the A10 7700K, and it's an ITX A88X chipset motherboard. So it's pretty old. It's about time it was due an upgrade. Inside here, cooling it, I've got a Cooler Master 120mm AIO, so I'm going to be ripping that out, giving that to my brother as an upgrade. I'm going to just go back to air cooling with this. And this is an ASRock B450 gaming ITX/AC motherboard. The APU in this one is the Ryzen 3 2200G. RAM is just 8 gigs of Corsair LP RAM DDR4 2400 megahertz, so should be enough to tide me over. I'm swapping from a SATA SSD in here at the moment. I'm going over to M.2. So here I've got a 256 gig Samsung PM981 that I've just had lying around for, I don't know, a little while, just going spare. So I'm going to utilize this in the new server, and hopefully that should just make things a little bit better as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna, obviously, my reasons for getting rid of the AIO and things like that in here is that I just want to reduce points of failure, and I feel like going back to air cooling just helps with things like that as well, especially with AIOs. So that's probably a good thing. I just need to clone the OS off of this old machine onto this one. So I'm just going to do that now. I've got this power supply here ready to go. So yeah, that's the first job. I'm just going to crack on with that. Alright, so I figured I'd try and give you guys the best view as possible as well. So I'm going to start by removing all the old clips that are holding everything in place. So there's one there, there's another one here. That's just to get the power cables out of the way and free. There's an old, it's not old at all, it's new, Noctua 120mm fan here. It's the Redux one. So I'm just going to take that off the AIO, and I'm just going to put that into the back of the case and use it as an exhaust. There's two more 92mm Noctua fans on the front here, pulling air in to cooling the hard drive, so I'm going to leave them in there as well. The power supply staying as well. It's an old Seasonic 400 watt, but it's done me absolutely blinding so far. It's got one of those ones where the fan is on the back side instead of on the actual main side for intake. So the whole bottom can be closed off. I kind of just prefer it that way, so I'm just going to leave that there. It works absolutely great, so that's awesome. I just need to take the SSD out for now. So the SSD is in this tray here, so I just need to undo this screw. There we are. And then if I pull this up and away, that's it then. There's the SSD. So we're just going to plug that in, clone the OS across, and then we'll be right back. Alright, so it's 2 days later, and I have some news. The clone completely failed. That didn't work. The actual clone itself worked perfectly, but when I booted up this system with the cloned copy files onto this drive, it just straight up refused to boot. So there was clearly a problem there. The next thing I tried to do was obviously do a fresh install onto the drive there, and then back up the old version of Server 2019 that I had, and restore it onto that drive. That failed as well. So I kind of just gave up with the idea of making life a little bit easier for myself, and just straight up reinstalled a fresh install again, and then I just imported the drives, which, like, luckily for me, they found and just instantly imported straight away, so perfect. The only other thing which was slightly a bit more time consuming was the Plex installation, because obviously this is gonna, you know, like I said earlier, I'm going to be using it as a Plex server as well as a file server. So two of the hard drives I have here are purely just for Plex storage, and they're two Seagate 4 terabyte. They're NAS drives, which off the top of my head I can't remember what they're called. Is it FireCuders? I don't know, I can't remember. And then the other two are just two 3 terabyte WD Reds, and and they're what I use to store my backups and files, photos, etc., etc. And then obviously I have both of these in RAID 1, so that if one of them fails, I still have a backup. You know, so you know, there's the pair and the other pair, which is a Z drive. I set up as a Z drive and a Y drive, and then basically I share that. You know, I do like a Windows share, which all my other PCs pick up in my house, and then obviously with Plex and stuff like that, I have it on my PC, my daily driver here. I have it on my mobile phone that I stream to my TV downstairs. And then obviously up in my bedroom, I have a Fire TV stick, which streams Plex as well. So it's very nifty. I like it a lot. So that's where I'm at now. The next thing to do is, now that I've got all my drives and things out, is I might as well just strip the case of all the old hardware. So I'm going to take out the AIO that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to take out the old motherboard. I'm going to reuse the Noctua fan that's cooling the AIO radiator. So I'm just going to put that back into the rear of the case and use that as an exhaust. I'm going to leave the two front Noctua fans where they are to cool the hard drives. Power supply staying as it is. So it's literally just a straight swap. I'm just going to swap this out, you know, with the fan as an exhaust, and then put it all back together. So it's pretty simple, but that's the next step. So we're just going to do that. Okay, so this is it so far. Now, rat's nest over here. Not a lot I could do about that with all the extra cables. It just comes, you know, it's non-modular. They all just come out here. To be honest, I need to leave the space, because if I decide to add 2 extra hard drives in this cage here, then, you know, they're going to come down to here anyway. So them all being down there with adequate airflow in here is perfect, and kind of just exactly what I need. So they're going to stay. Front panel headers, obviously plugged in down here. I've got the 4 SATA ports that I'm using for the 4 hard drives. So for now, I'm just going to be using onboard. In the future, I want to utilize this slot for like a HBA card or something like that, and then add the 2 extra drives, maybe replace them all so that I'm using all 4 terabyte drives, and then go like, you know, and then start messing about with RAID, like RAID 5 or something like that, for example. M80X could well be on the cards. I would like to add you know, more Ethernet ports so I can get better throughput as well at some point. So maybe like a quad NIC, or start looking into 10 gigabit Ethernet maybe between the main PC and the server would be great. That probably definitely, or no, that definitely won't happen until I've got adequate storage sorted out. So this is probably the first thing on the list with the HBA card. So for now, ITX is where you know, where this machine's going to stay. It went in really well. I managed to keep all the cables like low and out the way. I routed the 8-pin just going across the back down there. As you can see, it plugs in just about there, just where my finger finishes. I installed the fan in the back of the case. The header for that is over the back side down here. These two are the 3-pin fan headers. There's a controller here on the back of the case. So I just routed these cables up across the front and then down the back out the way, and then they're going into the headers there. There's a spare 3-pin there as well. So yeah, so that's just up there out the way, which is absolutely perfect. The next job, if I just tip the case up and back, is I need to install the 2 cages with the hard drives up here, and then I'm just going to wire them up with the SATA cables, and then obviously I've got the 2 power leads coming out the top as well. So I'm just going to plug all that stuff in, and then I've already set up all the remote desktop stuff for for this, so I'm just going to plug it straight back in up on the shelf where it was sitting, and then carry on with the setup. Okay, so we have it, boys and girls, the final finished server, the pièce de résistance, if you like. It's all done, and I thought I'd just quickly show you guys around. I had to buy an extension cable for one of the SATA hard drives, just because it was pulling a bit too much for my liking. So I've just bought that, installed that there, all nice and happy. A quick view of the rear, and here we can see, if I try to make it focus a little bit more, that's the fan controller that I was telling you about. So I've got that set to medium. On high, the Noctua fans on the front are actually pretty damn loud, so yeah, don't really need that any louder. See if I can get this to focus. There we are. And then just a view around the other side. Yeah, cable clutter is like not amazing, but it's all just down here out the way. It's not impeding airflow into the power supply down there, as you can see, so that's good. And yeah, I'm happy with it overall. It's working again. Plex is up and running. The share's up and running, so I can make my backups and everything, access all my files that I've got in storage. So yeah, I'm happy. Now it's just time to put the lid on and power it up and just and get it going again. But thank you for joining me on my journey, guys. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.